How you doing? It's day after Christmas, so I hope you all had a good Christmas. It's 2024, about to be 2025. What you're about to watch here is a video. I think it's number 5 in the series now. Mike Z Design, How I Made It. These are hanging shoe boxes. Is basically what this is. It's a foyer. It's the entry of a home. It's like a mini mansion kind of place. Very old place over here in Hancock Park. Great client, love her, Lauren, and she's had me do a lot of creative builds for her. I'm very proud of this. It gets mentioned in the comments. You're prideful, but it makes sense and it's good. You should take pride in what you do, you know? Uh, yeah. So, what I'm doing in this video, if it's your first time here, I'm basically just going back to my Mike Z Design Facebook page and opening up a picture folder of a project and then clicking through the images and telling you what's going on. And I'm remembering it because I didn't go through it first and study it, which a pro would do. If I was more pro as a YouTuber, I would have done that. But I like discovering it too. So yeah, I used to do this a lot. I don't do it as much anymore as far as the pictures, because the way I look at it is I'm not inexpensive. All right, you'll be looking at this going, wow, this guy put a lot of work into it. There's a lot of old school traditional craftsmanship going on here. It's all done by hand. And I'm using machines, obviously, to mill the lumber and everything. But I get into this. I explain why I leave tool marks in the project at different times. There's a reason for it. There's a lot of good tips in this as you're watching. I've been doing this for almost 40 years now. And so I kind of get into that. And because of what it costs to have a person like me do this, what I used to do for my clients, because I felt like I owed them this and I wanted to prove myself to people, I'm just being super, super honest. I'm so honest that I would take pictures throughout the course of the day. And then I used to email them to myself, right? And then put them into my Facebook. I'd create a picture folder. So, okay, you give me a check for a project. I come over, I meet you. We talk about the parameters of the project, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. We come to terms and agreement. I give you some thumbnail sketches of what this thing is going to look like. And then I do it. And then every day you could come home, right? And you could go on my Mike Z Design Facebook page if you got the time, and you could see the progress of the project. Now, obviously, many times I'm not just doing one thing. At this time, that's all I was doing. I would just focus on one piece at a time. So it was a little bit easier. These days, I'm pulled away by different clients at different times for different things. YouTube gets in the way. So I might not put 5 days a week in on a project. Just saying that's the way it is. But at this time, that's pretty much what I was doing. So pretty much every day you can come home, you go, oh, he's got this done today. Oh, check that out. Oh, look at the problem he had here. When you're milling lumber and you're removing material, you're revealing things in the wood that you can't see when you buy it. All right. And it was once a natural living product, right? The wood. It's a tree. So it also moves and twists. And I go through a process, which I've done whole videos on. I got one. I think it's milling lumber for heirloom quality furniture. I think that's the title. If you go to Michael Zikopoulos or at Astrovan Tribe on YouTube, and you go to my videos, you go to the little spyglass. If you were to type in heirloom quality, that video will pop up. Or milling lumber, different videos will pop up if you're more curious to see my method. But I discuss it here. And the point of it I wanted to mention here is just that I take the time to mill the lumber over the course of many days, sometimes a week or more, to mill the movement out of the lumber. When I'm done with my technique for milling lumber, it's not going to warp or move anymore. And at that point, you can make parts and do the joinery and do your glue ups and put it together. And it's going to be perfect. Perfect. As perfect as it can be. Perfect is good enough. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know what you think in the comments. It was a fun project to do. I would like to do this again. I have this whole other thing about satellite shelving, which is very similar to this, just without sliding doors on it. And it's just boxes that hang on the wall. And it just makes so much sense, especially if you move around a lot. So instead of your traditional rails on the wall with clip-in or L brackets or whatever, just make a box. Box holds itself up. You could take a wall, and if you wanted to do a wall of shelving, just make a bunch of these boxes. Each box could have a shelf in it or more too, right? Or they could just be boxes that are the shelf height you want and just mount them, because the top is a shelf. And you can mount these boxes on a wall haphazardly and turn the whole wall into art. That reminds me of another one I want to do. There's another really, really good one in here that I'm excited to show you. That is all about satellite shelving. I did some really cool, I got to make sure it's in there. I did some great innovative stuff. We'll get to that in the next video, possibly. In the next 2 or 3 videos, you'll see that in this series. Once again, Mike Z Design, how I made it. This is wall hung shoe boxes in walnut, and I really, really do hope you enjoy it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to look at something. It's one of my favorite clients. I've done quite a few projects for her. This is, man, it's kind of, they're wall hung shoe boxes is what it boils down to. This is an entryway in an old house. It's probably close to 100 years old over here in Hancock Park. Love this client. Super sweet lady. Her name's Lauren. She's a doctor, and she's had me do some pretty unique stuff for her. So, as usual, it starts with a sketch, and I guess I don't really have the sketch I gave her initially. This could be it, though. And these are going to be hung on her wall. Some of you have seen this before. I've done a couple videos. Matter of fact, I'll remember to link them. At the end of the video, you'll see little windows pop up on the screen. So it's 2 boxes, one above the other. This here is a door jamb that you see right here. I don't know if you can see the cursor moving around. Here, right there. That's a door jamb. This is 82.5 inches tall to the top of the casing. That's as tall as I want to make that box. And this room is the dining room here. The front door is over here. And yeah, and then across the way from it is another box that will also be a seat. So you could sit down and take your shoes on and off. These are Asian people, and those people, it's a good practice, are big on removing your shoes as soon as you come into the home. So this was a working drawing for myself. No backs on these cabinets, point that out right away. You can see I'm drawing here. I have some butterfly mortises on the top, and in the corners I've got what you call sliding dovetail keys. We'll get into all that. And let's just start now from the beginning. So getting lumber. This is Bonhoff lumber. Love these guys. Wow, this was a while ago. Look at the van. So the van... coolest Astro van around. No, there's more cooler ones out there. Ooh, look at the reflection in the back window. Isn't that cool? The clouds and the sun. So these were the wheels that were on the van. There were 17-inch method wheels. And you can see the tires are rubbing on my driveway. It was a real bitch with this thing. And this was a rack system I built that was built off of the factory rack. And it held up pretty well. I think I had this up there for... I mean, I know over a year, maybe 2 years, and I've had over a ton of material. That's not an exaggeration. Over 2,000 pounds on the roof of the van. So this load isn't going to be a problem, although I probably put that on the inside. This is probably also before the build. Excuse me. Back to the sketches. So, you know, you get the lumber. First step is cut to length. Each of your pieces. Of course, you want to make them longer than you need them to be, and I'm typically in the habit of using marker and writing on the end grain, which we'll never see, of what all these parts are, or what they're intended to be. And that's what you're seeing here, and here. And now I've already face joined. Looks like I'm face joining, and I'm thinking about these parts as I want to put them together, because one of the things I like to do is consider the pattern of the grain in each board. We'll get into this discussion another time. I could touch on it now, I suppose. I think I'll do when I'm looking at the camera. Maybe it'll be a Sunday night chat on furniture and some of my philosophy with it. Because you can look at an old piece of Stickley furniture, and you'll notice that they didn't care about the grain pattern in every board. You know, it's highly revered stuff. Everybody loves Stickley, Mission Style. And Roycroft, a lot of different companies made that stuff, but it's very basic. It's just the aesthetic of it overall is beautiful. But the guys that were putting it together it was all basic. So this here is me resawing. So again, just to go over this, I flatten one side on my joiner, which is about 10¼ inches wide. And then I get one edge 90 degrees to that. Then I resaw it. This is what you're seeing here. Get this side perpendicular, or excuse me, parallel to the other side that's running up against the fence here. And then I let it sit overnight. Then I face join again, and it's a process. It takes a lot of time. Look at how much I'm cutting off of this board here. This is face joining. And I'm really going to narrow this board up. I don't know why. This could be it's not a door panel. I made the door panels in this out of sapele, which is a ribbon grain African mahogany. Right here, this is clearly walnut. And so all the parts here probably have been resawn. I can't remember what these thinner parts here are for, but I will be reminded. I didn't pre-look at this. Here's the sapele. We've been over this in another video. Sapele or African mahogany is not real mahogany. It just has the look. And it's less dense and more affordable than genuine mahogany, and that's why people use it. And this is beautiful. When you get the finish on it, you'll see it really, really, really pops the way the light hits it. So I'm making the panels here. This was a problem for me as I milled the lumber. This happens as you're removing material. You will find imperfections in there, and that's not cool. It really bothered me. In the end, it was fine. When you put finish on it, it was not noticeable. This is, I'm showing people what it's going to look like. This is a panel in the sofa or love seat at the Johnson's home in their living room. So I was just kind of showing what this stuff looks like. And, again, I apologize. I can't control on the video here. You see how overexposed it looks here? On the computer screen, it doesn't look like that. It's definitely hot here, but it's not hot all the way across here like it's showing through the camera lens. But you can go to the Mike Z Design Facebook page and look at this for yourselves if you're curious. Yeah, this is a real bummer, seeing this mark on here. It really bothered me. You can see the lines, so what I'm doing here is I'm face joining again. You can see how much this board cupped after the initial milling process. Nice piece of walnut, man. I love this. This is probably the top, I believe, of the larger cabinet. So, yeah, almost looks like it has finish on it, doesn't it? It doesn't. So again, this is all just milling lumber, milling lumber, milling lumber, milling lumber. Now we're up to glue up. Excuse me. This rack system is something I came up with. I've replaced this set with a taller set because I ran into a few problems with this height. But I used this one for years. Look, if you've got something where you can put it down like this on a bench that is flat, then you can put your boards on there, and you'll see there's holes in here. I'll just point this out to you real quick. You see that there's a hole here. See the cursor spinning around in a circle? Right there, right there. And then there's one back here. There's a couple more, and that's so you can put a board across the top as you're gluing and put clamps in it, and that'll hold this flat. Now, these boards are thick enough where I didn't need to do that. And when you have something like this, you don't need to put biscuits in. All right, so it's a major, major, major time saver. You just make sure that these boards you run your fingers over it when you start clamping to make sure that they're perfect. But of course, your joints everything has to be perfectly 90 degrees at the seam here. And, I don't have to go super deep into this. It should be common sense, even to the lay person. Like a person who doesn't build furniture, you should be able to kind of understand what I'm getting at. If you want your panels to remain flat, you have to start from flat things, Also, my process, it saves me when I start sanding and everything, because I don't have to do as much sanding as the guy that doesn't get it lined up perfectly. If you're using your sander to flatten stuff out, you screwed up beforehand. I recently posted something on this. So when I was doing this project, my hands were wet and these clamps were sliding on me, and there's better ways to do it, neater ways to do it. All those things take time. All I did here was take a gouge and carve out On the handle here for grip. Super fast. It works. Done. Move on. I'm not going to get mired down in the middle of a work day to do something super fancy on my clamp handles. It doesn't matter. I don't care what they look like. They work. So everything's glued up here. And you can see here, I'm putting a nice flat edge. It looks like I got grand thumb here. I matched my thumb with something, don't remember. But this board is cupped. Excuse me, I'm sure it's still thick enough. I mean, everything worked out fine in the end, I know that. Here's one of the glue racks assembly things over here on the side, you can see. Oh, little snack, little organic almond butter there with some sliced apples. You can't go wrong, Nice, healthy, tasty, satiating thing. Okay. Look at that thumb. Holy crap. I really whacked I cannot remember what I did to do that to my thumb. This is 2019 is when these pictures were done. So, it's 5-6 years ago. Coming up on that. Well, this was December 2019, so 5 years ago. Oh, it looks like here I'm doing a rabbit. Again, this is just milling. There's not much to talk about this. We'll just cut through this here pretty quick. This is a story pole for the internal shelving. I like to do that because I can put all my marks. I can transfer them from one piece to the next and make sure everything's going to line up perfectly. Now I'm cutting the miters. So with a sliding dovetail key on the corners, you just make 45-degree cuts. Now here I'm using my Festool system. And it's beautiful doing this. And I love this system, by the way, because if I'm a little bit out for some reason, I can just slightly move that track and then cut it again with the saw. And it's just perfect every single time. So you glue the box up, and you'll see that here momentarily. But here's the 45-degree cut. And I'm checking it. Now, you can be out this way. So let's say, now in this piece, I can't be out at all. Let's just not get into something I don't need to talk about. This cut, and then the next piece that meets it has to be perfect. It has to be exactly 45 degrees because this edge is not going to get covered. You're going to see this seam here. So we have to be just super precise. Otherwise, it's going to look like garbage. And here I am, like I'm coming up this kooky way with this weight bag and everything to hold this short piece down. This is for the bench that you sit on. So I could do this 45-degree cut. You have to get really creative. Now, other people would go really nuts and like put straps down and make sure that thing's not going to move. I make it so it's right, and I'm conscious of what I'm doing. I'm a strong guy, my body, I'm fit. I know how to use my body and my muscle and my grip strength. Like I know what I'm doing, so I can kind of. To a lot of people, this is like a risky move. For me, it's like I just want to get it done. Time is money. So you can see here, I've got the clamps for this here, and you can see it's been cut on this side. You see this? 45. Let's make that bigger for you. So this is a short piece. Here's your 45-degree angle on this side. Here's this piece of wood holding it with the weight here. And now I'm cutting this one. This is insane. It's a kooky way to do it. I think a lot of people might have done this on the table saw. But here I am doing the butterfly mortises. Maybe there'll be I might have taken a bunch of pictures here. This was fun. This was after my tools had been stolen. You guys have heard me talk about I'm looking for a certain chisel. I bought this chisel and I narrowed the end of it here so that it would be the right size to strike this line with one blow with the hammer. And then this larger chisel here is the one I use for this line, these 4 lines here. So it's whack, 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 whack. Pick up this chisel, whack, whack, all right? And then I use this, right? The trim router with a straight bit set to the depth. That's the height of this. And I usually make it a little bit shorter so that the butterfly will protrude because then I can trim that down afterwards. There's a couple little tricks for you there. And there is look at this. This is a beautiful picture. Whoopsie, what am I doing? Wasn't ready for that. This should almost be the cover shot, the thumbnail for this video. It looks way more orange on screen. Wow, crazy. I don't know what wood I use there. It's probably the African mahogany, you know, African mahogany. I always put the water on it. I like to take a picture like this and then send it to the client, get them excited. The reason I was doing complete picture folders was, you know, and I used to sell myself this way with the clients is, hey, you come home from work, you want to check the progress, just look at the picture folder. You can see where your money's going. That's how honest I am and straightforward and, you know, honest. Oh, this is a kooky piece I'm shaping for a weird knot I found. There it is. So that piece was loose and fell out, so I cleaned it up a bit, and I made this puzzle piece to just tap in there with some glue, and there you have it. It came out perfect. Once again, perfect is good enough. It did crack a little bit here, but that's fine. It wasn't a problem. I just glued that up. These are the panels for the doors. Everything's being glued up, testing it for flatness. Everything's working out great. Now, I did a French cleat system. Everything you see here is upside down. So these are the tops of the cabinet. So there's 3 of them. There's 3 boxes I made. And then this is the cleat that's going to go on the wall. All right, so you see how I cut that. So this mounts right on the wall, and then the top fits right over it. You know, simple French cleat, they call it. French cleat system. French were good for something, I suppose. Kissing. I'm a big fan of French kissing. Yeah. So here you go. Now I'm figuring out my grooves for the sliding doors. All right. I don't want to get too mired down with this because this is something everybody can do. I did this with, I had already made the doors, I already shaped them, and I'm making these grooves with the Festool track system and just doing a bunch of passes. You can see here, and that's pretty good that I have this. Whoops. So you see here, there's a bunch of thin pieces in this slot. So they just have to be cleaned out with the chisel. I just knock that out and then clean it up. Now, benefit of doing this is, unfortunately, I can't get it tight enough here to show you. Maybe there's going to be another picture. I think I messed up here, but it didn't matter because this section won't make a door fall out or anything. And here I have to clean it out. What you can't see here, maybe we'll see it in a future picture, but I just want to show it here in case we don't. There's little ridges here. Excuse me. So the panel, it's flat across the bottom, and it's going to ride on these little high points. And this is hardwood. This walnut's much harder than the African mahogany. And so you can wax this a little bit, and they just glide. You touch it with your finger, and the door just slides. Real easy. If that was perfectly flat across the bottom, it'd be more friction. So it's just I don't know what the word would be. It's a benefit that was unperceived. You know, I didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, this, by the way, not the first time I've done this. It's something I learned many years before I ever did this. First time I ever did it this way, I learned this. It's like working out. You work out for health. Added benefit is you look better. Right? Same sort of thing. So this is the bench. It's going to mount on the wall that you will sit on. And what I did here, which I forgot that I did, and I did it on all of them, the grain, so this piece here and this piece were one piece. And then I cut the miters on them, and now the grain wraps. This is solid wood, people. Most people would not be working in solid wood. 99.9% of the time with my furniture, it's all solid wood. I don't want to use plywood. Most people would build this out of plywood and then wrap it in a veneer. That is, it's kind of more affordable in a way, I suppose. But it's more work in a different way because you're using all those sheet goods. Then you have to figure out ways to make the plywood stable. And it always sounds like plywood if you hit it. It's hollower because it's thinner. And so there's more vibration of sound on the inside of the box, which I hate. With this, you hit it with something, you tap it, you lay something on it, it's quiet because this is dense solid wood. With a piece of plywood, you'd have to put a hardwood edge on it, so you have to mill all that stuff up. You have to veneer it. You have to trim it all with a trim router. It's actually more work to do the veneer. So if you're, and the labor is where the real money is. Of course, this is not inexpensive material, but it's more labor intensive. And to get a butterfly mortise in something that you veneered, that's not, that's not easy. You can really screw up the veneer that way. I would never do that. Anyhow, point is the grain wraps, right? This piece is matching that part perfectly. It's exactly perfect. Perfect is good enough. And what am I doing here? It looks like I'm cutting the grooves now. Now you can see, you might not be able to tell, this is two pieces held together with clamps that are, can we see it? There you go. So there's a clamp on the end, on each end, and there's a seam here, and the front is here. This is a front edge. This is a front edge, and I'm stopping it because the doors are going to be in this area. Let's blow this up so you can see this a little bit better. The doors are going to hit in this area right here. Okay, so I've done the groove. This is where a shelf is going to sit, that's what the thin walnut was for. It was for the shelving in the earlier pictures I mentioned. So we'll just move right along here. And so the grooves are done for this cabinet. Now this is the inside. Now this happens sometimes. You see the void in the wood here? This is a thing that's going to, you see even there's a crack here. Sometimes that is unavoidable. You also see I have knots here, right? This is the inside of the cabinet. It doesn't matter. And if somebody noticed it, it's great because they can look in there and they can prove to themselves this is all solid wood. Because when you walk in and you see this piece done, most people would assume it's just a veneer because most people build things out of plywood and they don't take the time. My milling process is such that by the time I'm doing this, these parts are perfectly flat and they're not moving anymore. I have milled all the movement out of the material. That's part of what I'm charging for, right? It could take a couple of weeks depending on how much of this I'm milling and, what's going on in the air quality and moisture in the air and all these things. I live in Southern California. It's not super humid here. So, fitting the parts. Of course, let's go back here real quick. I have to square these off. I haven't done that yet. That's that kooky knot I did. Here's the box assembled. All right, so when you put it together, I just lay the boards out end to end, put glue in the joints. I put the blue tape, then I fold it all together, and then I get these clamps out. Now these clamps, all I'm really doing is holding it in place, and I'm adjusting these clamps, and I'm just with a square on the inside and the outside. I'm making sure this thing is square, and I'm making sure that the seams are perfect, and that it's very tedious. I can't be talking to anybody. I have to focus on this and get this perfect. I have to get it perfect. Now, the way this worked was the top and the sides, the grain wrapped around, but the bottom didn't, because it didn't matter, because you're never going to see that. And there it is. So there's the top, and butterfly mortises denotes that that's the top. Obviously not going to put butterfly mortises in the bottom here. I kind of remember this. I think I was moving stuff around and there was some scrap that I hit with my foot and it cracked in half and jumped back. Oh, no. Pulling a stuck clamp and darn near knocked myself out. Steel pipe to the head, splitting headaches. So yes, this is me after I whacked myself in the face with a steel pipe. That was a good one. I've got a few scars there. I know I've got one here from a piece of wood, which was I was just describing. I cracked it, and it flew back and hit me right between the eyes and split my head open in this thing. I cut myself open here a lot. This is a cut I got on my head, one of these here, when I was a little kid. It was underneath my hairline at the time. I ran into the coffee table and split my head open. Parents left me alone for a couple minutes. Go back and watch my video on concussions, and you will see this is... I'm used to it. Here I am laying out for the sliding dovetail keys. Now this isn't laying out the joint. I'm just laying out on both sides where I'm going to place this jig that I made, which we're about to see. And there it is. So this is a simple jig to make. It's 90 degrees here, right? This is 90 degrees. This piece to this piece, and then this piece, you know, it has to be perfect, 45 degrees and 90 degrees, and then you're cutting the slot in this piece, and then these two pieces of wood here are guide fences that this particular router slides between perfectly with zero play. That router is tight in here, so I have to wax it and make sure it goes smooth. And then the slot is allowing this 1/2 inch thick, long dovetail bit. So I just run that through. I'll probably show you the process here. All right, it's already done. So I run the router through and it creates this cutout. All right. So it's a dovetail. It's splayed out here and narrower here. And then I make pieces of wood that slide in there with glue. Well, I'll probably show all that. So let's just move on. Another shot of it here. Now, I guess you can't see it, but in the jig, the way the jig works is it's exact. It just, the slot cuts through and the plywood of the jig is right here. So you get no tear out. I guess I don't really show you that, but you would figure that if you had to make one of these for yourself. Now I've run these as long pieces on the table saw to create this angle, and this is very tedious to get that. So you make parts that are like 2 feet long or something, and now I'm just cutting them to length. And there you have this. So this is how this works here. Then you see how good this is. Of course, this is the back side. Doesn't even need to be that good. But you see here, they slide into place. They're just glued in place. So all this there's a lot of surface area here on this 45 degrees. This is thick material here. So the surface area alone with the glue was enough to hold this box together. And that would have remained actually pretty strong, believe it or not, with no joinery whatsoever. Because I'm using Type-On 2 glue, which is stronger than the wood itself. But it is end grain, right? So you reinforce the joint with these dovetail keys, and this isn't ever going anywhere. You're not going to ever get this to come apart. It is very, very strong. And so this Japanese saw up here, I took the set out of it, which means I ran it flat on both sides on a stone or some sandpaper or something. And I used it as a trim cutoff saw. And that's what I'm doing here. And you can see down here, one is still hanging. And then I've trimmed them pretty close, and then I use this chisel here, which is honed sharp enough to shave the hair off your arms to trim up. Look at this seam here. It's just perfect. You know, you can't have it, when you put this together, this edge here is so sharp, you could cut yourself, so you have to knock that down. Finish won't stick to a sharp edge. You have to always round the corner over. You can see that happen here. But look how nice and neat and tight this is. Now, there are times when you can end up with a little gap here, and really all you need to do is get some shavings of the wood, and I don't mean sawdust. I mean actual pieces of the wood that you slice very thin with the chisel, and just cram them in there with a little bit of glue, and when it's finished, you'll never see it. Look at this. And this is a picture I would send to the client, obviously, as I'm working, and because this is just water. This is the corner. Okay, so it's the other side wraps. This is the corner that's going to the wall. There's glass there, but they never really have it open. No, it still wraps around. What am I saying? I'm talking out of my butt here. It lines up pretty good, but not as good as the other side. So I must have had to take more material out of these two pieces for some reason when I was doing that cut. No, it doesn't really line up. So yeah, it's fine. Tap that by accident with my finger there. So this doesn't line up with the grain. It's either the bottom or the side that goes up against the wall, so you can't see it. Oh, look. I talked too soon. I thought I was going to leave this, but look, I'm doing a Dutchman patch. So in case somebody does look inside the cabinet, you don't see it, but you would see a Dutchman patch. You didn't have to do that. Now here's where I'm going to do a fun knot fix. Now this is, a lot of people they'll do a Dutchman patch where they replace the whole knot, or they will fill this with filler or epoxy. That's way too much work, man. And it looks like that's what you did. With this, I got a bunch of little wedges I made. And I'm going to cram them in there with glue and a hammer. And look at that. So that's just glue in there, and I just hammered these things and really got it super tight in there. Oops. This is good stuff. And now this is just, water. It's wet with water. But when the finish gets on, it looks better. But this is not a spot where you're going to see it. I believe this is either on the inside or the bottom or some spot where it's not going to be seen by people. Okay, these are the grooves for the sliding doors. I'm cleaning them up a bit. Oh, look, some time has gone by. The thumb has grown out. This is January 3rd now, 2020, and the last time was December 13th. So, yeah, it took some time to make this. These are the larger cabinets I'm working on now. Shoe boxes. These are shoe boxes, people. Pretty crazy. Doing a quick hone on the dovetail key, keeping it clean. So to cut cleanly. Bridge City Toolworks, they make some good stuff. I do have one of their squares that is not square, so I can't even use it. And I should have just sent it back to them years ago, but didn't do it. So here I am. I'm doing the dovetail keys. You can see I did a butterfly mortise on the side of this one here. Let's get through this, all right? So I'm shaping the bottom edge of the sliding panels a little round. I'm making the bottom surface and the top surface narrower so they can't bind inside the groove. Just applying common sense here. This is when I still had my old, well, maybe not. That might be the replacement. Remember, my tools did get stolen. Yeah, that was the replacement. Okay. Now, when you do the doors, just so you understand, there's grooves on the bottom. They're not as deep as the grooves in the top piece. So you make your panel so you could lift it up into the taller groove up here, and it drops down into this groove, but it's still tall enough not to fall out. This is common sense. So you can remove these doors real easy. You just grab them on the edges, lift them up into the tall groove, and then pull them out at the bottom, and they come right out. Now I'm going to hand shape. You probably can't see this on camera, but it's laid out here. I'm going to hand shape. See this right here? I'm going to carve a pull. So instead of adding, because these doors slide over one another, now most people would drill a hole, or they would drill like a recess and put like a cup in there. But I don't want to do that. So I'm doing this by hand here and working it from both sides. And that now you have enough for your fingertip, which I think is genius. Now, I'll tell you right now, what I did, I should have made these inboard another ½ inch or so. Because when the doors overlay each other, you can see a little bit of this pull on the underside. It's not a thing, like it's not wrong. It's just something I didn't anticipate when I did it this time. And that's just how it is sometimes. So you can see right here is what I'm talking about. So when the doors are on, you can see this other pull behind this door. So if I would have moved this pull this direction, moved this from here to here, another ½ inch or so on all of them, then you wouldn't have seen that at all. So it's something to be mindful of. I'll never forget that. I'll tell you that. Next time I do this, that's not going to happen again. So here was a spot where I had a little bit of a gap, I guess, on the end for whatever reason on this one. So I had to put a little wedge in there. And I put the tape down beforehand so that glue squeeze out wouldn't get into the grain because I've already sanded this. Also helps when I do with the flush cut saw here. So you can see here, that's the patch I put in. It's not something that you notice when the finish is on because all the grain is popping. There's so much to see. You can find it, and that's fine. It's not a mistake. It's just a way to deal with a situation that arose, and it's a telltale sign of handwork craftsmanship. You know, a machine didn't make this. You can see it's already going away once it's sanded there. So here's the finish being applied. These are the inner shelves. And like I said, there's no back on this. It just hangs right up on the wall. There's already a wall there, so you don't need to put a back on the cabinet itself. So on this one, I used this product, and there must have been a reason for it. I probably couldn't get the product I like, so I was trying this stuff out. It's fine. It's pretty much all the same stuff. Look at this. I mean, this is... Again, I don't mean to be tooting my own horn. You can see in here I branded. I put the brand, the logo on the inside, right up in here. See it? Right there. Mike Z Design. Mark of craftsmanship. And you can see the way the butterfly mortise and the dovetail keys really are popping here. I believe this is only one coat of finish. Look at this. This is the front. And you can see the grain wrapping. You see how rich it's gotten from adding some finish? This white line is just the light reflection. That's all that is. The light coming into the garage shop there. And I actually left some tool marks on this. One of the things I do, and if you read the website, I mention it there. It's not a cop-out. It's not. I'm not cheaping things up. I do it on purpose. I leave hand tool marks on the pieces on purpose. I could take the time to scrape it perfectly clean, but if you leave a tool mark here and there, and somebody notices it, what they're noticing is the fact that somebody did this by hand. You know, a real craftsman did this. Look at that picture, man. I wish it looked as good on screen as it does on my computer screen. Again, it's way too overexposed through the camera. Oh, it gets better. Look at that. It gets a little better when you zoom in on it. So I just remember, when I took this picture, because there's all the parts. And it just looks marvelous. Even though you don't see this side, I still put the butterfly mortise in it. Just for balance, you know. The beauty of what I'm doing here, it's not built in. They are individual pieces. So if these people move to another home in the future, these things lift right off the wall. They lift right off the cleats. It's all that's holding them in place. And you can take them with you to your new home, and you can reconfigure it in any way you want. There's another one we'll be doing, and it might be the next episode, where I'm going to show you that. Where I did all this crazy work for this guy, and then a few years later, he called me, had me remove it all, and then put it in his new house in a completely different way. Look at that. God, that's beautiful. Really, really looks great. Wait a second. So here's that imperfection in the wood here. Just looking for it now. Right there, but you can see it's not bad because you can see that this is all through the grain. It was something that bothered me at the time. Doesn't really bother me now because the rest of this is so uniform. You know what I mean? All the ribbon grain is so uniform and clean. It was just that one spot, but now I like it more because it just denotes character. You can see there's some on this door here too. You don't know what you're going to reveal as you're removing material. Again, here's the bench. This is me installing it now. Look at that. What the hell? That is look, this is a crap-eating grin right there, boy. Look at that guy. Now, if you look back here in the background, all the white built-ins here, I did all that as well. And that'll be another video. I'll do that video as well for you. Now, you can see what's happening here. These shelves, they're two parts because one board that wide would have warped because it's so thin. I think it's only a 1/2 inch thick. It's solid walnut. Very, very, it's strong. So each of these shelves is two pieces, and all they do is butt butt up to one another. They're not glued together. They don't need to be. It's inside the cabinet and it's just supporting shoes. Not that big of a deal. There's my client Lauren, and she is adorable and the sweetest lady. Just so sweet. She still checks in on me from time to time. She'll just send me a text, ask me how I'm doing. She has 5 boys, 5 sons, and one is an officer in the United States Army right now. He did ROTC. He's been traveling the world. We're friends on Facebook. I follow his journeys, and it's amazing. Good mom. Did I mention she's a doctor? Doctor, single mom, 5 boys. And her parents, her elderly parents, live in the home as well. Look at this. So I got it. It looks like it's resting on the molding here, but it's not. It's just slightly higher than the molding. I just set this up perfect. I did the math. I knew the molding was there. I knew that I wanted the height of this to be about 17 inches is pretty average for a chair height, your average chair height. So that's probably what this is. And that French cleat, that's all this is. And this protrudes pretty deep. This is probably 16 inches across, close to it. Something has to be comfortable enough for you to sit on. And there's probably a picture of me. I'm sure there's a picture of me sitting on this thing. Look at that, man. Look at the grain just popping. These floors creak. There's videos of me walking in here. I later went underneath the house. There's a basement, and I fixed the creaking floor as well. But again, you can see how this grain all wraps around. You know, tell this was all one board here, and the joints are just popping. And the contrast between the African sapele, African mahogany, and the walnut. It's one of my favorite things. I love mixing woods. Oh yeah, there you go. I'm just happy it's over. I think that's really what's happening. And there, it's in use. I went back many times to try to get pictures of this. The lighting is hard. This is the afternoon, so the light comes right through that front door. These first initial images of it, and they're vertical because I was probably posting these up. I mean, I'm positive I was posting these up on Instagram at the time. Now we're dressing it. You know, she's placing stuff here. It's a great place to, when you walk in, you can put your keys here. You can put your mail here. I did another thing for her too, though, in this hallway. This is a long hallway. This is one of the boys using it. I think she sent me this picture. She's like, it's working already. We're already using it. This is like the next day or maybe the same day because later this all gets dressed. I went in, I put some other stuff up with hooks so she can hang coats and stuff. This is initial. Maybe that's what I hung up for her. Look how beautiful that looks. It looks like a magazine, which is what it's supposed to look like. So you put your shoes underneath here, same thing across the other side, or you could store them inside. It's just perfect, right? Again, perfect is good enough. It's beautiful. Look at this. Beautiful. This is a long video because I'm talking so much. Look at that. So I came in earlier in the day, so now the hard light isn't coming through. Well, let's go back. So again, this is in the videos, you'll see me opening these doors and you'll just see how they glide open. Please, I'll put the links in description, and at the end, you'll see some windows pop up here where you can just click on them and watch the videos. Because the videos of me going in here and showing you this, I think it's pretty impressive. Excuse me while I wrench my back trying to pat myself on the back here. You know, this is somebody that is doing well in life, knows what they want, found me. You know, I make dreams happen. This is what I do. It's just so much fun to make people happy. And this is good. The lighting's a little better here, so you can actually see these just pop, man. You get the finish on there, right? You got the butterfly mortise down here. It's, you know, it's art. It's functional art. Mike Z Design. Oh, that's the last picture. So Mike Z Design, functional art. Let's just get back here. One last parting shot of, let's see, what's a good one? I mean, other than this, super handsome fella with, I mean, come on, look at this guy. Let's get a little parting shot here. I like these. I like these pictures here. I think that's pretty good. Um, just and that's it. I will tag on these other things. I'm going to film the preamble for this. I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you get a kick out of it. I hope you like this series, how I did it. And remember to be kind to one another. Have a great day. Come back again. Tell your friends. Share it. Do the thing. I always forget to say like and subscribe, but you probably should. I mean, if you've been watching these things, you probably should just be doing that, right? I don't feel like I have to tell you that. But that's it. Have a great day. Be kind to one another. I will catch you in the next one.